Now that Asterisk is installed properly, we can discuss how you can configure it to meet your needs. Asterisk configuration is generally managed by a series of text files that are read when Asterisk starts. Before we dive into the configuration files, you should be aware that alternative configuration methods exist. Numerous GUIs, or graphical user interfaces, are available to let you configure Asterisk using a web browser instead of by editing text files. Many of these GUIs work by automatically manipulating the underlying text files. A GUI can be a great way to avoid the complexities of manual configuration, but that simplicity comes at a cost. GUI-driven implementations can only take advantage of the Asterisk features that have been exposed through the GUI, while manual configurations have access to the full feature set. Likewise, the flexibility of a system configured using a GUI is limited to the choices that the GUI makes available to you. To draw a comparison, think of Asterisk as a language, and GUI-driven applications as form letters written in that language. With the full language at your disposal, you can say anything you can imagine. With a form letter, you can only fill in the blanks left by the author of that form. In this course, we're going to concentrate on teaching you the complete Asterisk language. Another alternative configuration method lets Asterisk read its configuration from a relational database. This adds another potential point of failure, but it is commonplace for many large-scale Asterisk systems, and more than a few small ones, to use this method without issue. We'll focus in this module on the primary method of editing Asterisk configuration, which is via text files. Be aware that Asterisk is remarkably flexible when it comes to configuration, so we can't cover every option or possibility in this training. We'll explore the most common configurations and behaviors, but you should know that there are exceptions to what we describe. When Asterisk is installed for the first time on a new system, it is recommended that you run the make samples command from the Asterisk source directory. This copies a complete set of sample configuration files into the /etc/* or etc* directory. This is the default location where Asterisk looks for its configuration data. Looking in this directory, we see several files. Most of them end in .conf. We won't discuss all of the files here, but we will highlight some of the most important ones. Asterisk.conf is one configuration file that must live in etc*. This is because it is the first configuration file Asterisk loads, and it specifies the directory where Asterisk should look for other configuration files. Asterisk.conf also defines several other directory paths, such as for application and library modules and for logging. Various other Asterisk initialization options can be configured here as well. Let's take a moment to look at the syntax of Asterisk.conf. At the very top, we see the word directories in between square brackets. This is a section identifier. Most of Asterisk configuration files include multiple sections, and each section is defined by a bracketed word or phrase. Beneath the section identifier, you see lines that have a word or string of text on the left, then an equal sign and greater than sign, then more text on the right. These are key value pairs. The equals greater than, or sometimes just the equals sign, is the separator between the key and the value. The keys on the left-hand side identify various configuration items. The values on the right-hand side are settings for that item. Here in the directory section, we see a number of key value pairs that tell Asterisk where in the file system to find various important directories. I won't go through all of these now. A bit further down, we see the word options in square brackets, another section identifier. See how the key value pairs in the options section are preceded by a semicolon. The semicolon is the comment operator. When Asterisk finds a semicolon, it stops processing the line and goes on to the next one. By placing a semicolon at the beginning of the line, you're telling Asterisk to ignore the entire line. This lets you include notes to yourself or to other administrators and lets you disable things without actually deleting the line. That's what's happening here in the options section. Asterisk will not interpret the line starting with a semicolon as configuration details. Almost all Asterisk configuration files behave in the same way. The configuration information is broken up into sections within the bracketed section identifiers. The actual configuration data is stored as key-valued pairs with the equals greater than operator separating the key and the value. We'll look now at two other important Asterisk configuration files. First, we'll discuss extensions.conf, also just called the dial plan. This is where Asterisk is told how to handle both incoming and outgoing calls. In legacy PBXs, an extension might refer to a physical line or an endpoint. In Asterisk, extensions are just a dialed string used to access services as well as endpoints. An Asterisk dial plan is not unlike a routing table in a modern networking switch. In the sample extensions.conf file, note the examples of the syntax we just discussed. The first several lines of the file are comments clarifying the purpose and behavior of the file, and then we have a section called General. In fact, many Asterisk configuration files include a General section, followed by a Global section. User-defined sections, such as for dial plan contexts, trunks, or phones, are listed after these. The General section of the Asterisk configuration file typically sets the options or values that apply to the whole module instead of just one specific part of it. For example, in the configuration file for a channel driver, the General section might set the port Asterisk uses for all calls of that channel type, whereas the username and password for a certain trunk would be defined in a separate section just for that specific trunk. You can see that the default extensions.conf is full of comments. It's worth reading through them once to get a better understanding of the numerous options available, because we won't go through all of them in this course. In fact, to make it easier to scroll through the file, I'm now going to delete all the comments and the comment lines. Now you see we have a general and global sections at the top, and then several other sections starting with Dundee, EEX, or Trunk. These are all sections that within extensions.conf are called contexts. Each context is a collection of extensions that define what to do with a call. I want to skip down to a context called Demo, where there are several examples of simple extensions. The Demo context includes several lines of extensions. We'll hold off on digging into the syntax of an extension for now. The purpose of this module is to introduce you to the files you'll spend the most time with. We'll spend much of the later parts of the course discussing the various ways you can configure extensions.conf. Next, we'll look at sip.conf, which is the configuration file for the SIP channel driver. Not every Asterisk system will use SIP, but most will. SIP is an industry standard VoIP protocol that you're sure to run into if you haven't already. Asterisk has a robust implementation of the SIP standards and permits a high degree of tuning or configuring via editing sip.conf. We'll open it now and take a look. Like extensions.conf, it starts with many lines of comments. The comments in sip.conf are worth reading if you're new to Asterisk or to SIP. Again, we see a general section near the top. Here we can set options such as the dial plan context where incoming calls will go by default, and the address and port on which Asterisk listens for SIP traffic. There are several additional sections relating to authentication and to phone configuration. Note that the exclamation point between parentheses indicates a section template. This can be inherited and extended by other sections. Templates can be useful when you have many sections to define with similar options. For example, when you have dozens of phones with configuration that is identical except for the username and password. For most Asterisk channel drivers, including SIP, each trunk, phone, or device of any kind is defined within its own section. A few last words about Asterisk configuration files before we move on. Asterisk uses dozens of different files, and it can be confusing to keep them straight. When in doubt, open a file and read its comments. If you've altered or deleted the original file, you can always find a backup in the config subdirectory of the Asterisk source. And finally, Asterisk doesn't reread configuration files until you tell it to do so. You need to reload Asterisk, or at least the module whose configuration you updated, before Asterisk will recognize the changes. On the Asterisk command line, the command reload causes Asterisk to reread all the configuration files, while sip reload or module reload chansip.so will cause just the SIP configuration file to be reloaded. In summary, Asterisk can be configured by GUI or by database, but configuration by text files is the most common and what we'll focus on in this course. Configuration files live in etc Asterisk by default, and Asterisk.conf, extensions.conf, and sip.conf are three of the most important files you'll use.